I exposed an outright secret society grifting ring, and it led to doxing and blackmail. This is an ongoing story that's been on for quite some time. At this point, I don't even think there will ever be an end to this. This unhinged schism is one that lasted for a total of 3 whole years, to some people probably much longer, taking account even more of the most lunatic things that you'll be hearing today. And at this point, I don't even know who else would be willing to hear it. It's even more annoying that there's no options to add multiple flares. I don't want input because honestly, expectations for responding to such a story is about as low as you can get, while also having the notion that I don't even deserve it considering the situation I put myself in. And a lot of what happened resulted in anxious guilt and depressive shame. Aita4M was a part of the world's most pettiest discourse that took place around last year. For me, at least. To summarize, a few people get fired from a community project for all the right reasons, said people couldn't cope with it and decided the wisest, most mature and best option was to tweak out and crash out by smearing their own crew and workplace over perceived wokeness so they have an excuse to deny that they were fired for the right reasons. From the halfway point to finish, everyone figured it out and started calling them out for it. And it eventually resulted in that group leaving for good. My contribution to this was that somewhere around December, I opted in on the idea to document the entire story, and mainly add in any additional inputs on it. And I was reasonably good at it. So reasonably good that not only did I tear down a lot of their strats and grifts, but I managed to beat one of their longest-standing alternate accounts and got them to leave for good. For real this time. One day, an impersonation account of an entirely different community shows up and, in the midst of its cancellation, basically stages an ICE deportation against a different group's likeliness. It was there when I figured that it was that same hate group from the past trying to do business as usual. Not only did I manage to share what I had to as many people as possible, but it even caught the attention of that same exact community project they were trying to impersonate and had them reach out to me to confirm and act accordingly so they could disassociate from the impersonation group as far away as possible. It even caught the attention of several other journalists who I talked to and had a great honor of talking with. Everything was short-lived when these people started stalking me and doxing me after exposing them for what they were. Not only that, they're using my personal information as blackmail if I were to speak out again and demand that I be silent about it. On top of that, my works and my coverages were mass reported and effectively terminated, destroying all the evidence because the outlet I picked for such occasions had tendencies to cave to mass report. So even if I were to try and counter this with law, I'd have nothing to provide to them. What's worse was that in my own dox and blackmail, they basically made the picture much more clearer. That this entire thing might have not been led by an individual that I suspected and knew was in charge, though I still believe he pulls the strings on the ordeal. But the remnants of that same exact community project who that individual effectively converted and had them doing the same exact things they did. I know this because I was told that their replacement lead for that community project never even cared about it at all, and members inside knew that because there was such an egregious lack of communication and no direction to work with. On top of that, that same exact lead had ties to people who knew how to dox and basically used them to go after anyone or anything that says a peep against them. At this point, I might as well wake up the next day on a dirt floor on a home space of nothingness. What if the community I helped starts doubting what I know and lets their guard down just once? Sure, they've replaced socials, but the impersonation group is still following behind. How many posts disassociating with this impersonation group will it take or last until their pursuers makes one that decimates them, if not fake another deportation? How long have they been following me? Even if with how much of a closed book I am between IRL and business ties, what do they really know? A part of them are still cowards and can't even full commit to the docs. They can still make up stories that not only are the same 6 different allegations they used for someone else for the past several months, but can be debunked by people just thinking for 3 or so seconds. But how fast would it really be without my guidance? And what if they decide to threaten anybody else I know once they figure out I don't matter? For the first time in a long while, this entire discourse has me considering that I never should have been a part of something in the first place. I feel upset that after all this time trying to help that exact community group project in September, their next best solution was not to take the time to recuperate, pick up what they left off, and carry on to greener pastures. but basically throw all of that into the gutter and turn against us after getting rid of their trash, get angry that we're trying to deal with the people they want to get rid of in the first place, and do the same exact things mask off. More importantly, how the fuck do I even explain to my relatives that I will be spending the next few days looking over my shoulders to see if I'm actually being stalked by psycho-alts and doxers who can't even take accountability for their own failures they put themselves in? At this point, I don't want to bother knowing. And anything I do like it's always been has never been enough. The fact of the matter is that they're still out there doing what they've always known best, and no amount of pushback is ever going to stop them, let alone slow them. Like stepping in never mattered in the first place. My manipulative boyfriend I was with for 6 years. I thought I'd come on here and share a story I've only shared with family and friends, but I think people might find this interesting as well. For reference, I'm non-binary, but have only identified as such since I was 17. I'm now 20, almost 21. I'll be referring to myself as such and ask that people respect that. I transferred to a new school in 5th grade. It was a big change because I had gone from a big public school to a tiny public charter school. This school also specialized in autistic kids and their siblings. My brother, who's a year and a half younger than me, was diagnosed when he was 6 or 7. I'm also autistic but didn't get diagnosed until I was 14. Anyways, in this new school I had an easier time making and keeping friends just because I could actually express myself in a better way. This is also where I met Chadafernit, real name. He was really cool and I loved hanging out with him, and he liked hanging out with me. I thought I developed a crush, he really didn't, I just wanted to be his friend. He developed a crush on me as well. So we decided to become crushs. For some context, I grew up in a very conservative state and family. I couldn't date until I was 16 and could only date a singular person consistently if I was looking for a husband when I was 18 and over. Chadafer grew up with the same rules. Nothing too significant happened until the end of the school year when I said we should have a break over the summer. And then we entered middle school. 6th grade we just stayed friends and he became crushs with a popular girl who isn't too important to this particular story. Then 7th grade hit and we were back to crushs. Now this is kinda where things started going downhill. I started hanging out with him at his house. He was really into video games. Specifically horror video games. Now I love horror stuff, but back then I despised it. One of the games he liked to play was FNAF. He only had the first game at the time and he really wanted me to play. I told him no over and over, but I finally gave in after he threatened to never talk to me again, and me, being the shy, easily manipulated person I was, gave in and played. It was absolutely horrifying like it should be, but I was not ready for it. Another game he would make me play was Yander Simulator, which unlike FNAF I don't think I'll ever be able to play again. And that's just because he pushed the Yander stereotype so far onto me that I actually started believing that I was a Yander, that I would unalive if any competition got in the way. And he loved it. With the combination of him pushing this harmful stereotype, threatening to not talk to me anymore if I didn't do what he said, and the AB*SE happening at home, I developed BPD, borderline personality disorder. Luckily his manipulation never got as bad as SA, but it still affects me to this day. After we graduated from middle school and entered high school, my mental health took a major decline. I was constantly in and out of the psych ward because of a slew of different disorders that I won't publicly share all on here. But Chadafer started playing mind games. He would fuel my Yander side, but then turn his back on me when I was in an actual mental health crisis. He refused to believe that I was sheeing, that I wanted to self-unalive, etc. He also started making awful jokes about sensitive subjects such as CSA, child abuse, etc. I hated these jokes because I was a victim of CSA and child abuse. I would constantly ask him to stop with his reply of "it's just a joke." He started to comment nasty things about my appearance behind my back. Thankfully, I had really good friends who were there to tell me about his unsavory comments, but sadly I didn't listen to their advice to leave him for a good while. And then giving me compliments when talking to me. I ended up developing an ed from his two-faced comments as well as my family putting pressure on me to lose weight. I tried so hard to look the way he wanted me to look, but it was never enough. In 9th grade, I realized I was a rochi and that I never was romantically or sexually attracted to Chadafer. I'm actually abrosexual, but that's a whole other thing. I never told him and just kept the relationship out of fear. Then at the beginning of 11th grade, I realized that I'm also non-binary. This realization really was the end of the line for me. He would have never supported me if I came out to him as non-binary. So I called him with a friend by my side. He was in a group call with his online buddies and refused to get off so I could talk to him, just me, him, and my friend. So I came out to him and broke up with him while his buddies listened. Boy, was he pissed. I don't exactly remember what happened next, but either he or I hung up the call. I was emotionally shattered, not by the breakup necessarily, but by his anger towards me. I knew he wouldn't understand and that he would act like this, but I still wasn't prepared. I do have to mention that this was in the midst of the pandemic, so we didn't see each other in person at all. I told the rest of my friend group what happened, and eventually the entire school knew. A few days later, one of our mutual friends had gotten a message from Chadifer saying that he was going to unalive himself and that he was sheeing because I broke up with him. He also attached a photo of blood in a sink. The friend sent a screenshot to me asking what we should do. I'm not going to lie, I was scared, but also knew from my friends that this was a manipulation tactic. So I saved the screenshot and sent it to his mother. His mom got back to me saying while she was concerned, she had the same photo in her gallery from when Chadifer had a bloody nose. I told the mutual friend and told Chadifer this. He got really pissed and tried to get pity from the rest of the friend group, but it was to no avail. Everyone in the school knew he was AB*Civ at this point, and he ended up being homeschooled for the rest of high school. And that's basically it. Just to end this, I've never seen him again, I've moved on, and I just wanted to share my story. I may have missed a few parts, but it's hard to remember every detail. There won't be any updates, but who knows what will happen. Thanks for reading. Thanks for watching. Like and comment on what you'd like to see in future videos. See you soon!